I want to start out with a mind spill because I think it really exemplifies everything that is wrong with this whole we've got to shrink government. Government can't do anything right. You just have to leave the economy up to the billionaires and the rich people. They'll do everything right. Don't worry. The profit motive is what animates everything. If you just leave it to the profit motive, ultimately everything will be wonderful. That is a really reasonably clean summary of Republican theology, Libertarian theology, and Ayn Randism. It is, and it's nothing new. This is what Warren Harding ran for president of the United States on in 1920 and won. And put into place in 1921, dropping the top tax rate from 91% down to 25%, deregulating the banks and the brokerage houses, changing leverage requirements for borrowing money to buy stocks, kicking off a 9-year bull market in the bull run in the stock market, which it turns out was just a bubble because, hey, you deregulate a market and you let greed rule. What do you get? Average working person gets screwed. The banksters become billionaires. There were a few of them who got hurt, but, some of the greatest fortunes in America were made during that time and kept. But back to Colorado. In the 1990s, we're talking a generation ago, during the Clinton administration. This has nothing to do with Bill Clinton. I'm saying that for, to give you some time perspective. But back in the 90s, the EPA said, this mine was run by a bunch of greedy SOBs who, well, they didn't say that. I'll say that. Who are leaving behind a bunch of poisonous waste. They took the gold. They sold the gold. They bought their yachts or their vacation homes or, distributed the dividends to their stockholders and only had to pay a capitalist gains tax on it. They all got rich, and what they left behind is poison. And the EPA said, let's designate this as a superfund. And that, of course, was being fought and has been fought right up until very recently. In fact, I would say even to right now, by people like Cory Gardner, the Republican senator from Colorado, Congressman Tipton, the Republican congressman from this region, Scott Tipton. An interesting piece over at redgreenandblue.org, an environmental website. They say the GOP clowns, this is written by Jeremy Bloom, the GOP clowns who set this mess up by cutting and cutting and cutting the EPA's budget, specifically the local congressperson Scott Tipton and the local Tea Party Senator Cory Gardner, now want to blame the EPA. That's like cutting the fire department's budget year after year and then complaining when their truck breaks down. So back in the 90s, the EPA wanted to designate this as a Superfund site. And in their grand brilliance, this is, by the way, one of the largest untreated mines in Colorado, drainages. Bev Rich, for example, chairwoman of the San Juan County Historical Society, said, quote, now this is an article from 2013, right, from 2 years ago, August of 2013, by Chase Oliverius McAllister on the staff of the Durango Herald and the Herald staff. So Bev Rich, who's the County Historical Society person, said, we're a tourist area. This is our living now, this beautiful scenery and our very interesting history. You hear the word Superfund site, and 99% think danger. So why do you want to go to a Superfund site? The article notes the Sunnyside Gold Corp., the last mining company to shutter its operations in Silverton, said its departure is permanent. But Fern, this is the Stephen Fern, a coordinator with the Animas River Stakeholders Group and a Silverton resident, Fern said he was amid talks with other mining interests about setting up shop. He said the Superfund site designation would scare away investors. Similarly, Todd Hennis, Golden Base president of the company that owns Gold King Mine, wrote in an email that any potential Superfund listing would prove, quote, extremely damaging and stigmatizing for the community. So, Todd Hennis, the Golden-based president of the company that owns Gold King Mine, according to this article by Chase Avarius McAllister in the Durango Herald, says, you can't designate our waste site as a Superfund site because it'll scare away investors and it'll damage and stigmatize the community. Well, why did you put it there then? Meanwhile, the Tea Party and right-wingers in Congress have been cutting the EPA budget virtually every single year, and now you've got it also under sequester. So the EPA is just, barely capable of doing their jobs. Why is it being cut? Well, of course, because Koch Industries does not like being regulated by the EPA. Georgia Pacific, which the Koch brothers own, does not like being regulated by the EPA. You see all those wonderful ads on TV. We're Koch Industries. We're wonderful. We like working here. These are nice people. We hate the EPA. We lobby Congress like crazy. We buy members of... Oh, they don't say that, do they? Anyway. I am astonished that there is absolutely no mention in the corporate press about the fact that this is a classic example of how business in America, unregulated, deregulated business, or lightly regulated business in America, will always... when given the opportunity, we'll always go to the business model of maximizing profits, extracting as much profit as you can out of whatever the situation is, and socializing the costs. They are all about having you and me, the taxpayers, pay the costs of the cleanup, of the waste, of dealing with the waste, of everything else, while they take the money and run. And this is absolutely what is, one of the major things that is wrong with this country right now. And those same people, by the way, are out there aggressively buying politicians, which is my next rant. And so what do you expect? So, and then this whole privatization insanity that came along with Reaganism. Oh, the EPA, instead of having EPA employees inspect the mine and the waste pools at the mine, let's hire a private contractor. So they did. And you get some kid on a backhoe who zigs instead of zags, to paraphrase the article in Red, Green, and Blue, and boom, you've got a disaster. Because the EPA privatized the functions out to what I'm assuming was probably the lowest bidder. There are so many wake-up opportunities for America. I mean, from President Jimmy Carter saying we're no longer a democracy, we are now an oligarchy with unlimited political bribery, to the Superfund site. I mean, this should be the poster child. Every television program, the Today Show, all these they should be talking about, how does this happen in America?
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
And they should be pointing out that it happens in America because corporations, by and large, can own politicians, own the political process, and to a large extent, own the media.